I know, I'll be right in the middle of the message and it'll start playing for us again. Oh, I better go quick. No. Well, good morning. Fun to be together. Fun to worship together. It is. I was just thinking this morning. So appreciative of what how Mark and Christina lead us in worship every time they lead, and just very easy to worship for me this morning, and just really, really thankful that that we had that time kind of on the mountaintop, putting our focus on the greatness of who our God is, and worshiping Him for all of what He brings to us and all of who He is, because we're going to spend a good bit of time this morning kind of headed down into the valley of our human existence, life under the sun, what it means to kind of find meaning and purpose here, apart from that mountaintop experience. And so glad to have had that this morning before our time to be maybe a little on the depressed side this morning. Not that we have to be depressed, but sorry, I got to close this here. So Tammy, the show's not up there. If you could get that going. So last week we set up this study that we're going to be in Ecclesiastes, which Ecclesiastes is this. Literally, the word Ecclesiastes means the speaker of the assembly. So it's the idea of getting a group of people together and then having someone get up and speak. That's Ecclesiastes. That's the Ecclesiastes speaker, which I would say is a little bit like today if you have like a conference or some sort of large meeting, some large rally, and you have the keynote speaker, right? The person that gets up, they're the one that you've been waiting for to listen to, and this keynote speech given by what we know to be Solomon, who had unique wisdom in all history and all time. No one before him had the wisdom that he has. No one after him has had the wisdom that he has. So he's a guy to listen to. Remember when we looked at it last week, people would come, leaders and wise men from all over the world would come just to sit at Solomon's feet and listen to what he had to say, because it was so profound. He had such depth of wisdom. And now we get to spend time sitting at the feet, listening to the keynote speaker that they all came to listen to. And his topic here in this keynote speech is what a life pursuing wisdom has taught the wisest man on earth. Right? So he has spent his life pursuing wisdom. We'll see that today. And he's toward the end of his life, and now wants to share this lifetime of wisdom, pursuing earthly wisdom and what that has taught him. And he addresses some of the biggest questions in life that we have. And we think probably he's the place to go to if he's the wisest man. He had unique wisdom among all men. He stands at the pinnacle of wisest men. I think we should listen to him when he talks about where I can find fulfillment in my life, where I can find purpose in my life, where I can find meaning in my life. Now, unfortunately, what we're going to see is it's kind of a fool's errand that he has been on for his life. But he's tried. He's spent his life pursuing this wisdom and trying to help. He's now trying to help us understand his conclusions. And I think this is important in general, important in all places and all times. But I think it's particularly important in our place in our time, where I think we're very, very, very confused as to where meaning and purpose and fulfillment actually come from. And so I think this is a worthwhile time for us, even though it's a difficult time. It's a difficult thing to listen to because we're just being lied to all the time with messages that sound easier to listen to but are completely false. I'm surprised. Melissa and I subscribe to streaming services. We don't do cable, but when we watch television shows and things, we always upgrade our package to the extra $2 or whatever, so we don't have to watch commercials anymore. But when I watch commercials, I am still just amazed at how we just get lied to day after day, commercial after commercial, 30-second spot after 30-second spot, over and over and over and over and over again, because all they're trying to say is, if you buy this, you'll have it, right? We have this culture of celebrity in our culture, in our world, that just says fame, being known by others, even if it's not really being known, but kind of this distance way of being known. If you just have enough fame, enough followers, enough people who are clicking on your videos, then you will meet all the longings you have in your life. And it's a lie. We have infomercials that if you stay up, late enough in the evening, you'll hit this infomercial that just says, if you have enough income streams, right, you'll have everything you ever wanted. Look at me. Look at my great estate. You can have this too. And it's a lie. We looked at that poll last week where they just had that open-ended question, where do you find meaning in life? And it was things like the pursuit of a career, the pursuit of a family, finances, secure finances, religious faith, health, fitness, and on and on and on and on and on. I can find meaning there. I know I can. I've heard I can. And Solomon's going to speak to us about those things. Ecclesiastes is really, I'm going to have to say that word a lot this series. It's hard to say. Ecclesiastes is for those who have that sinking sense that I think you start to get if you live long enough, that maybe there's less to this life than we think there is. Maybe you've spent your life trying to attribute meaning to certain things, and you're starting to come to your senses about that thing and going, oh, well, maybe that's not as meaningful as I thought it was going to be. And Ecclesiastes helps us deal with that, helps us understand it. Because Ecclesiastes is clearly more about the way things really are than the things we find comfort in by pretending, which we do that a lot. So let's sit at his feet and listen a little bit. Let me pray for us. Lord, I am so thankful for this book that in a lot of ways, I know I've thought it, I know others have thought, how in the world did this make it into to the Bible? Like, it's just so strange, it's so different than really any other writing we have. But I'm so thankful for it because it's just chocked full of wisdom. The wisdom of coming to the end of your rope. And maybe the wisdom to help you not come to the end of your rope before you do. And so, Lord, we just want to listen. Even if it's difficult, it will be difficult. But I pray that you'd help us to listen this morning and that your Spirit would teach us all that you want us to have. Help me to be clear. May you speak through me this morning and not my own words, but your thoughts. Pray this all in your name. Amen. Might have to click on it there, Tammy. Just run that mouse up to the top. I'm just going to keep going until we get there. Let me just read to you the first couple verses. We covered them last week. I'm not going to dwell too much on them, but it's the start of what he's what he's getting at. It says, the words of the preacher, of the speaker, of the keynote speaker, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Solomon, right? Vanity of vanities, says the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Vanity is the word meaningless. Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless. Worthless, worthless, everything is worthless. Purposeless, purposeless, everything is purposeless. Empty, futile, useless, fleeting, everything under the sun is this way. It's the word actually can be translated as breath or vapor. It's like boiling a pot of water and you see that stuff coming off the top, right? We call it steam. And what happens to that? It just goes. Empty, worthless, no good purpose. And he says, everything, all of man's desires, all of our search for meaning and significance and purpose in this life is a fool's errand. It's a waste. And our gut reaction to that is usually to push back and go, wait, hold on. That's not true. I know I can find meaning in this. I know I can find purpose in this. There's plenty of places to find that. And isn't that a little harsh, Solomon? Come on, back off a little bit. What about a fulfilling career? Right? I may have to have you advance this morning, Tammy, because I don't have control. Did we get clicked on it? Can you advance it with your arrows? Just click right there would be perfect. Just one click. We good? There we go. I got control. All right. Got to go back. Okay, here we go. All right. We made it. Thank you. So what about a career, right? Career is a place where we can find meaning. I think career is number 2 on the list of the survey that we looked at. Can't we find a meaning there? Don't you remember this commercial?
What could make your tomorrow better than today? A promotion, a great paying job, a new career? Well, the successful future you've always dreamed of could be right around the corner if you call ICS today.
Anybody remember that commercial? It'd come on all the time, right? If you've got a lost life right now, just go to correspondence school and you could have an exciting career in electrical engineering and I don't know, whatever else, plumbing, and they had the whole list of things going on. This will fulfill your life, right? This will make your life what it needs to be. Number 2 on our list, right? Career. That's the place where I can find purpose and meaning in this life. 34% of people believe that. Let's listen to what Solomon says. He says, "What advantage does a man have in all of his work, which he does under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever." He says, what advantage do we have in our work that we do under the sun? Remember, this under the sun thing is taking a look at just this life, right? Things that happen here on earth. Finding meaning in the stuff of this life. And he says, what advantage does a man have? A generation comes and a generation goes. People die, babies are born. Those babies end up dying at the end of their life, hopefully, and then new babies are born. And generations come, and they come, and they come, and new generations, and they do this work. They work all of their lives, they die, a new generation comes, and they fill in. History is full of moments that seemed meaningful at the time, right? Even in your own life and in my life, there are moments that we could point back to and go, these seemed like meaningful moments. And they are all just going to head into the dustbin of history. right? Yeah, we'll talk about them in a history class, but there's no meaning there. We may invest our lives in something that at the time seems like a priceless endeavor, right? Just this week, Tom Brady, probably the greatest quarterback of all time from the NFL, which is hard for me to say because Dan Marino is right up there. But he's probably the best of all time. Had a great career, pursued his life to do this thing of being a quarterback for the National Football League. His whole life was wrapped around it. In fact, I just watched a documentary by him. Truly, every moment of his life was wrapped around this pursuit. And now it's over. It's done with. It's history. He's going to be in the record books, yes. Who cares? Honestly. You think that's giving him meaning and purpose? And in fact, I would love to show you some clips from his documentary that basically say he has not found meaning and purpose. And he's got every accolade you could have in football. Meaningless. We think we're going to find some meaning here, but it's really a waste of our time. It's a vapor. In their time, they were an agrarian society, so it was driven by farming, right? And that's the illustration here. He's like, what does man have when you're tilling the ground all the time to get a new crop, right? And then you cut down that crop, you harvest it, and then you use up that material, right? Or you sell it. And then what happens? You go back out and you till the ground and there's a new crop. And then you cut it down and you process it and you sell it or you use it. And then you go and you till the ground like over and over again. And then you do that for your whole life. You die and someone takes your place tilling the same ground, doing the same exact thing you just did. Meaningless. Day after day, season after season, year after year, lifetime after lifetime, doing something completely meaningless. And the land is still there, right? The earth remains forever. It's still there for the next generation. For us, I don't think any of us are farmers in here. My grandpa was an alfalfa farmer. He spent his life farming alfalfa. But we have other jobs, right? But think about the job that you have or have had. Any repetition in that job? Right? I love my job. But we show up here every Sunday, right? Week after week after week after week. We're doing Ecclesiastes 1 today. Tomorrow I'm going to start writing the stuff for Ecclesiastes 2, right? And that's just repeat over and over and over and over again. Day after day, project after project, task after task. And then you retire. Did someone replace you? Probably. Doing the same job you did, day after day, season after season. I think of our property that I do not maintain very well, but I do some maintenance to it. And I go and I spray for weeds, usually once or twice, right? Why do I do that? I don't want weeds, right? Especially like in my driveway, there's cracks that it grows up. I don't want weeds. I'm like, okay, I've taken care of the weeds. Did I take care of the weeds? Only until I had to go back out there the next season, and it's grown up again, right? And I spray it again. And I usually do all the bug spraying around my house, okay? I've learned how to do that to keep the spiders and the bugs away. And we had a bunch of younger folks than us over at our house last night. And as they're walking out, there's a spider coming down. And I'm like, okay, got to go get that stuff back out again and spray again, right? I was talking to Glenn this week, and I appreciated he shared that there was a mentor in his life, someone who was actually, I think, teaching on Ecclesiastes, and he said, this is what a good exercise for everyone to do, and I would agree with him. I would encourage you to do the same thing, is ask the question, why do you get up in the morning? Okay, and however you'd answer that, you answer, like, I'd say to get ready for work, right? And then just keep asking yourself why questions. Well, I get up in the morning to get ready for work. Why? To go to work. Why? To make money. Why? To pay for a house and clothes and food. Why? So I can eat and I can sleep somewhere. Why? So I can get up the next morning and go back to work. Right? Like, I looked up the term, there you go. There's the never-ending cycle, right? I looked up the word repetition. And that's what I got. The recurrence of an action or event. I looked up the word recurrence. An action or event occurring in repetition. So I went back to repetition, the recurrence of an act or event. And I went back, but, right? Even repetition's repetitious, right? Life is just full of these cycles of behavior. They're everywhere. We're like hamsters on a wheel, right? Lots of activity going nowhere. He goes on. Also, the sun rises and the sun sets, and hastening to its place, it rises there again. Blowing toward the south, then turning toward the north, the wind continues swirling along, and on its circular courses, the wind returns. All the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, they flow again. He's like, here's some proof. Just go out in nature, right? Just look around. Pay attention. This world is just full of cycles, right? Repeating cycles over and over again. The sun rises, the sun sets. The sun rises, the sun sets. Sunrise, sunset, right? And I love that song because when you hear the song, it's like the way they're singing, it's like sunrise, sunset, because it's this mundane repetition over and over and over and over again. The wind blows one way, then it blows another way, then it blows our door open and breaks it, so we got to get a new door. It's just blowing all the time, right? We don't know where it's going, and it always comes back. Will it ever be enough that the wind will just stop? The rivers flow into the sea. Is there any end to that? They just flow and flow and flow. And of course, Solomon didn't understand the idea of like what do you call that? The water cycle, right? But nature is full of these things, right? You got the water cycle where you got the precipitation comes down, then it's collected and evaporated, and then you have condensation come together in clouds, and then precipitation again and collection. Anybody remember this from 6th grade or whatever? It just goes around and around and around and around and around and around and around, and the rivers never stop flowing. They just keep going. Oxygen cycle, gets familiar with this, right? Plants produce oxygen, which animals and plants breathe in oxygen. They exhale carbon dioxide. The trees take the carbon dioxide in, oxygen back out. It's just in that never-ending thing, right? This is why some people have plants in their homes. The life cycle of a chicken. Mike knows about this. Mike and Kathy, they got a bunch of these. You got the egg. Was it the chicken or the egg that came first? I don't know. Anyway, you got the egg, embryo, hatchling, chick, adult, which lays another egg, which creates an embryo and a hatchling and a chick and adult. Like, this is life. Just look at nature. Even the atoms that make up our being just circle around like this constantly, going nowhere. Just look at nature. This is what life is. He says, all things are wearisome. Man is not able to tell it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor is the ear filled with hearing. That which has been is that which will be, and that which has been done is that which will be done. So there is nothing new under the sun. Everything is wearisome. Everything is tiresome. Everything is worn out. And some of you might have already had kind of this existential crisis in your life where you had this moment where you're like, everything is I'm just tired of life, right? I'm just tired of it. It's just, nothing ever changes. Everything's just the same. I keep looking and listening. But see, here's the problem is he says, man's not able to tell how wearisome it is, right? You see that? All things are wearisome, but man's not able to tell. We just keep looking, we just keep listening, we keep hearing. We think the next thing is going to be the satisfying thing, and it's not the satisfying thing, so we just keep looking instead of figuring out what we need to figure out, which is all of this is just vain repetition and is a complete waste. That's the conclusion we should come to, but instead, we keep trying to look for that ocean to fill up. Keep trying to look for that wind to die down and settle in. We keep looking for things to find the destination of meaning and purpose and significance. And instead, it's just a series of vain repetitions. We think the next one's going to be different. We think the next one's going to be better. We think it will bring the answers we seek. And instead, it just brings us right back to looking for significance and purpose in our life. I actually think the sense of boredom that we get. In fact, this morning, Luna May was sitting over there on the chair, and she looked like the most bored being on the planet over there, having to sit and wait for her grandma to do what she was doing. I think boredom is one of those things that actually causes us for a moment to touch meaninglessness. We feel it, right? We're like, oh man, like nothing is this is so boring. Life is so boring. And we feel that monotony for just a moment. And then we're like, oh, let me find a distraction, right? He says, is there anything of which one might say, see, it is new. See this, it is new. Already it has existed for ages which were before us. There is no remembrance of the earlier things, and also of the latter things which will occur. There will be for them no remembrance among those who will come later still. We keep claiming, especially our world today, with all this new fandangled technology, and that there are new things, new and improved. These advertisements are like, hey, it's the same toothbrush, but it's new and improved, right? We added a timer on it or something. I don't know. Like, they add some sort of component to it, right? But, excuse me. But he says, there is nothing new. Now, he's not claiming that there's no human innovation. He saw human innovation in his time, right? But what he's saying is all human innovation is just reworking something that was already there, right? The atomic bomb was just a new way to blow each other up. We had other ways to blow each other up before. It just is more efficient and deadly, right? Landing on the moon was this big, revolutionary thing in the 20th century, but it was just the next exploration, right? Columbus did it, Marco Polo did it, discovering these things we had never discovered. It's not new. Now we have you guys heard of the metaverse? Right? Facebook is creating, and some others are getting involved in this, are going to create a place where you can go and exist virtually. Right? In the metaverse. In fact, their new company name is Meta. And this is now going to be a place where you can go and digitally interact with other people and get what you need in your life. It's not going to provide that. It's just a new social network, which we have found does not give us meaning and significance. In fact, it probably works the other way. Modern technology it fools us. We keep looking, we keep trying to hear, and we're not getting any closer to the answers. But we're forgetful. We're fooled. We come to the end of one endeavor and we're like, no meaning and purpose there. But then we forget about that when we move on to the next thing. We talk about human progress when really we've just been on the human hamster wheel forever, doing the same kinds of things with the same kinds of ends, not finding what we're looking for. And history's full of our failures in this area. We have illusions of advancement and development and improvement, but they're just illusions. It's going nowhere. It's us chasing our own tails. Point on your handout is, life in this world is full of a meaningless series of repetitions. Life is full of a meaningless series of repetitions. Again, I warned you that we're going to want to push back on this, right? Anybody feeling that tension where you're like, oh, hold on. There is meaning there. I know it. I haven't found it yet, but I know it. It's going to be there. He goes on. He says, I, the preacher, the speaker, the keynote speaker, have been king over Israel in Jerusalem. And I set my mind to seek and explore by wisdom concerning all that has been done under heaven. It is a grievous task which God has given to the sons of men to be afflicted with. You hear what he's saying? He said, I've been given this task. I've set my mind to seek and explore all wisdom concerning life on this earth. Right? Life under the heavens. Okay, so heaven here is not that place, the afterlife, right? It's heaven like the sky, the universe, the thing you look up at. Okay? Everything under that. Everything here on this earth. I have set my mind, and he was a sharp dude, right? God gave him supernatural ability to understand wisdom and knowledge, right? Like no man before him, no man after him. And he says, I set my mind to this task of understanding all wisdom under heaven. Which you would think would be amazing, right? To be able to gather all pieces of wisdom and knowledge from all parts of the world and have all of that understanding. All the insight and understanding that can be gained on this earth. He's like, I sought it and I grabbed it. He just wanted to gain as much human knowledge, as much understanding from this world as possible. He went to the ends of the earth to learn and study everything. History, literature, science, religious belief, practice, astronomy. Anything that could be known, he sought that thing out. To be the most knowledgeable and wise man in all the world. The most complete education anyone could ever have, he sought it and he attained to it. And his goal was to find something, anything on this earth that would make life worth living. And his conclusion is, it's an affliction. It's grievous. I am mourning over my pursuit. Because what he found is that life is not beautiful, like the movie from a decade ago said. That life actually stinks. It's an unhappy business for him. It was an unhappy business for him. It was harmful, it was hurtful, it was sad, it was sorrowful for him. Instead of being satisfied, which you think would be the end pursuit of gaining all wisdom and all knowledge from all parts of the world, instead, it was an affliction to him. And if you pursue that like he did, it'll be an affliction to you. Because in the end, he built nothing. In the end, he concluded it was empty. It is empty. Oh, hold on. He said, look at 14, I have seen all the works which have been done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity, all is worthless, all is useless, and striving after the wind. You ever seen someone go and try to chase the wind? If you try to do that, how meaningful would that be? What end would that serve? Nothing, right? He says, what is crooked cannot be straightened, and what is lacking cannot be counted. Little illustration that I thought of with this. Imagine your job in life is being a wheelbarrower. That's your job. And every day, all of your life, day after day, your job is to transport wheelbarrows full of dirt from one excavation site to another place where you are filling in low spots and holes. And every load from the wheelbarrow, you're taking, I had to look this up, 3 cubic feet of dirt. And you're transporting it from one place to another place. Every hour, you're moving 36 cubic feet of dirt. That's an accomplishment, right? That's not a small amount of dirt. Each day, you move a dump truck's worth of dirt. It's a lot of dirt. And every day you walk away kind of feeling like you accomplished something. I mean, look at how much dirt I was able to move today. And I'm going to add that to tomorrow and the next day, and I'm going to, over a week, look at how much dirt I was able to move from one spot, filling up holes in another spot. Yeah, it's repetitive, but you can see the impact you're having, right? It's right in front of you. So you keep your head down, you keep working. As one hole gets finished, you move on to another hole and move dirt from that hole. As you finish up the place where you're putting the dirt, you level that out and you move on to another place that needs dirt. Yeah, it's repetitive, but I'm finding meaning in the fact that I'm moving dirt. Now you hit retirement day. You've spent your life doing this job. Your boss says, hey, let's take a helicopter ride. Let's see all the work that you've accomplished in your life. You deserve it. He takes you up, and you find out that actually you've only ever been moving dirt from one hole to another hole. And then when you filled up that hole, you were actually moving dirt back into the hole that you had originally taken it out of. And then you were moving it into another hole that you had already gotten the dirt out of before. And the sum total of your whole life has just been moving dirt around, and it's just a flat piece of ground. Now, you could have claimed that had meaning every day, but I think you get to this point and you go, I've just spent my whole life and I changed nothing about this landscape. Now, I think if we were in this place, we would be so shocked by this that we would probably say something like, you know what? Work is fulfilling in and of itself. Well, okay. Tell yourself that. But you're lying. You're just fooling yourself to make yourself feel better because you just wasted your life doing nothing to the landscape. You wasted your life doing something that was completely and utterly meaningless. And as much as you want to lie to yourself, you're never going to straighten out the twistedness of a life like this, right? You're never going to bring order to the chaos that was your life. It's just too twisted up. It's just too empty. It's just too meaningless. So your only solution is either to look into the meaninglessness and go, oh man, it really is meaningless. Or to lie to yourself and say it had more meaning than it really had. What is crooked cannot be straightened. What is lacking cannot be counted. The hole is so deep, what is lacking cannot even be measured. It's a bottomless pit of meaning. Your life and my life. Life under the sun. That's the truth. If we want to see it. Point on your handout is human life on earth is unavoidably empty and a worthless pursuit. Human life on earth is unavoidably empty and a worthless pursuit. Your response might be, okay, Solomon, I get it, but I think I can do it. You couldn't accomplish it. Wisest man who ever lived, right? You couldn't accomplish it, but you didn't live in the time where we're going to get the metaverse here in a couple of years. Where others have failed, I will succeed. I will find meaning here. And I'm going to spend my life learning all that I can, and I will find meaning. Here is Solomon's wisdom for you. I said to myself, behold, I have magnified and increased wisdom more than all who were over Jerusalem before me, and my mind has observed a wealth of wisdom and knowledge, and I set my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. He says, I have magnified my wisdom, which means if you take a magnifying glass and put it on something, what does that thing become? Larger, right? I mean, it stays the same size, but magnifying it makes it look larger, right? He's like, all this wisdom and knowledge, I magnified it. It's massive, it's big, it's increased. I've added to it. It gained day after day after day after day after day, and I never stopped learning. I never stopped growing in my understanding of this world. He said, my mind observed a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. Observe means to know and actually to really grasp it. It's not just reading a textbook and going, what did that say? But he actually understood all this wisdom and knowledge. This abundance. Abundant riches. And not only wisdom. Did you guys notice this? He says, I also studied madness and folly. He said, I didn't just look at the things that are real and true and that seem right in the world, that are accurate, that seem to be a good way to live life. I pursued all of those things and tried to understand all those things. But I also studied madness, like delusions. People who were delusional and had delusional ideas, like the opposite of wisdom. I pursued that too. I tried to understand where they were coming from. How did you get to your lack of wisdom? How could you be so dumb? Like, let me figure that out, right? He looked at all the lies that people tell themselves to comfort themselves and tried to understand those lies and why those lies exist. And he looked at folly, which is literally ignorance, foolishness, the complete lack of knowledge. He wanted to understand that too and where that comes from. And actually, maybe lack of knowledge is going to give you a purpose and meaning in life, right? Maybe delusions are going to give you purpose and meaning in life. So he pursued it. And I don't know about you, but just on its surface, I go, man, it seems like Solomon was on the right track. Like, that's the way to figure things out, is to know everything you could possibly know. Let's get an education here. Because probably, at least the collective wisdom of people is going to bring you to a place where you can really, truly navigate life well, live life well, discover real meaning, purpose, significance. If you can bring it all together, it seems like you could probably figure it out. And then we would hope at coming to Solomon's feet going, hey, he's got the solution. Give it to us. Maybe he'll offer us this solution that he's come to. And then he says this, I realize that this also is striving after wind. This also is a completely meaningless pursuit. Because in much wisdom, there is much grief. And increasing knowledge results in increasing pain. So he's actually suggesting here that maybe delusion and ignorance is the better way to go, right? Because at least if you're dumb, ignorance is bliss, right? If you don't know what you're missing out on, maybe that's a better way to go, because the more you know, the more you try to attain and seek wisdom about how to have meaning and purpose in this life, the more meaningless and purposeless your life is going to become. Actually, it's completely meaningless and purposeless, but you're going to know it now. And that is painful. And it brings grief. Sadness. Every new pursuit of purpose and a meaningful life and significance in this life is just going to cause you to, I lost control again, there we go. It's just going to cause you to just continue to have funeral after funeral after funeral after funeral in your life as your hopes and your dreams die a quick death. Maybe a slow death if it takes a while for you to figure it out. And nobody wants that. Imagine if you went to a funeral of a friend every single day. So stop pursuing it, because you're just going to keep having funerals as your hopes and dreams die. As that thing that you thought was going to bring you what you wanted, you find out it's not going to bring you what you want, and you're going to have a funeral over it. And then at some point, you're going to lose all your friends. At some point, you're going to lose all of your attempts at purpose and meaning, and you're going to be left with just emptiness. The point on your handout is, any attempt to find meaning in this human experience will only cause increasing pain, as it will only uncover how deep the emptiness goes. Any attempt to find meaning in this human experience will only cause increasing pain, as it will only uncover how deep the emptiness goes. Now, I know right about here, we just want to hear some hope, right? We just want to hear something good. But I think you guys know I really care about presenting the text the way the author intended to present the text. He's not presenting any hope here. Not for this pursuit. So we're just going to leave it there. Here's the bottom of your handout. Solomon spent his life pursuing and attaining all of the wisdom and understanding this life can provide. He searched high and low for it and filled his gifted brain with the greatest wisdom that can be attained in this world. His pursuit left him with an undeniable conclusion. This earthly life is fundamentally without meaning, and to search for meaning in it will only leave you with additional pain and heartache. Even if someone could know the sum total of all human wisdom, all they would truly know would be the pain and agony of the futility of life. Meaning can never nor will ever be found among our greatest human minds or our boldest human pursuits. All will be left in the meaningless dustbin of history. Be wise and don't waste your time looking. Let me pray for us. Lord, I just want to thank you for the soberness of this. You know that a weird part of my personality is that I prefer ugly truths over beautiful lies. I just want to know the truth. I just want you to be clear about that, for us to accept it and be transformed by the ugliness of those ugly truths. This stuff is hard to listen to. We want to fight. We want to push back. We want to fight back. But Lord, may we gain the wisdom of sitting in it for a while, of sitting in the meaninglessness of this life, the vain pursuit, the meaningless pursuit of trying to find meaning on this earth, on this planet, in each other, in relationships. That you would help us to take that whole list of things that people say, this is where you can find meaning, and just recognize it for what it is. It's a false promise list. A list of things that aren't going to fulfill us. Help us be utterly convinced of that. Pray this all in your name. Amen.